Buongiorno, benvenuti a tutti.
Good afternoon and welcome to everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you to the European Parliament, members of Parliament, colleagues. I'm very happy to welcome you all. And particularly to support this annual dialogue that we hold between us. From the very beginning, I've said that the Western Balkans are a priority for me. And this is on the basis of the mandate that I've, of course, received from the European Parliament. As you know, my first visit outside of the European Union was to North Macedonia. I've also had the honour of being able to speak in the Parliament in Skopje. We very much want to ensure that there is an agenda of dialogue and rich participation. Today I was supposed to be in Tirana to show my support to the Albanian people for opening negotiations with the European Union. But sadly, I was not able to do that because of the earthquake that has struck Albania. I would like to once again state my solidarity and that of all members of the European Parliament on this sad occasion which has struck Albania. However, I would also like to congratulate the government for the way in which they've dealt with this emergency. I was very much struck by the photograph of two emergency response workers from Kosovo and Serbia, and that it's been seen around the world, and it struck me because it shows that we can and we must work together. We have to increase our dialogue and our solidarity. In order to encourage dialogue, we have to listen to each other more, to speak more and to communicate. And that's going to be important to overcome the differences in our countries and the European Union and throughout the geographical area of Europe. We have power. It's not economic in nature, and it's not necessarily clear in our success, but it lies in our people. Today, we're celebrating 30 years since the fall of the Berlin Wall. That's when modern Europe was born. Conciliation between countries which had been so distant found a common vocation of liberty, democracy, and the possibility of all existing as part of one family. In the east of Europe, the fall of the Berlin Wall was also the start of a new era of democracy. Some countries travelled a more difficult route than others, but what we have to remember is that there was a possibility of free debate and discussions, of being free to put forward your own position. And that's an achievement that the European Union has helped to achieve. We should never forget that all of the phenomena that we've seen in the east of Europe, in the former communist countries, these have not become tragedies, but have actually transformed the countries into countries of peace and democracy. And this is the success of Europe. Countries in which freedom and democracy had been denied have been transformed and have followed a route of peace. As you know, the European Union was built between countries that had fought one another. And this is what we want to see in the Balkans, the Western Balkans and EU, who have been separated and yet so close to one another. Separated and yet at the same time open to the spirit of democracy and liberty that Europe has tried to build. We all have our tragic pasts. All of our countries have these histories and have started off from the lowest points, from the depths of pain and suffering. And that's what we must remember always. We have managed to build this together, and we want to include the countries of the Western Balkans in that, to ensure that the accession discussions aren't just open, but that they're also concluded successfully. Now, of course, some decisions taken by the European Union have led to discussions that might be concerning. I would just, however, like to emphasise, and Europe today proves this, for the European Parliament, this is something that must start soon. We will make all efforts to ensure that progress is made in accession discussions and that they conclude successfully. Now, of course, we will continue to urge reform. That's something that the European Union asks from all countries. A lot of efforts have been made. Others remain to be made. I'm very happy to see the new commissioner. Is this your first meeting? The first meeting you're participating here? We welcome you, and we are sure that you will continue to pay great attention to this process, that you'll follow the process with patience and determination. We need you and you need us, because we're all Europeans. And this is the message of hope that we want to put across. Your desire to participate in the Union aligns with ours, because we need and we feel today more than ever that the political area has to be reconciled with the geographical area. And the issue of Western Balkans is a step towards achieving this. We need to work with you to set out a common vision. If we go into depth into the importance and how we can achieve a stronger European Union, if we look at the fact that we have global challenges that we can only face together, issues relating to trade, security, all of the areas that global problems can be broken down into, Europe is useful, because at this time of globalization we want to see rules that have values at their base. And I think that our values are of use to this globalized world, respecting people's dignity, their liberty and their values of democracy. And I think this is the right spirit to go forward. And this accession can be a new mission for the European Union. We have to pay attention to the living standards of our citizens. That's true, and will be all the more so in the future. But we have to ensure that Europe is useful to a globalized world that needs rules. Now, a lot remains to be done together. Europe and our countries can contribute to a mission, which is to protect the European area. You know, there are physical pressures, and there are also new technologies that can be used that can, for example, manipulate our democratic systems. This is something that we have to pay great attention to. And so that's why we need a strong Europe to work as a tool to protect our citizens. Working together, we can also face up to challenges that are coming from close to our borders. There are a whole range of issues that concern us a great deal in the Mediterranean. And we can tackle these problems if we work in a European spirit. There's the problem of migration, but also the problem of a number of conflicts that are troubling our area as well. The Mediterranean should be seen as our living area as well. And that's why we need to ensure that the region becomes safer. We need to see more foreign policy and to work on this together. I think that's something that the new Commission is going to be looking at as well. And then a challenge that faces all of us. We have one Earth, one planet, and we have to work together to protect it, because that's what our citizens are asking from us and what our young people want. And so environmental protection standards are not just intellectual ideas. It's a clear, urgent need. We very much appreciate the fact that the new Commission, as its first act in Parliament on the 11th of December, it will be announcing its programme on the new Green Deal. And you as well will be able to share in our responses if we are able to continue to develop this and work on this together. And to do all of this, we need Europe. I'd like to thank the media, journalists. They're not people who are often thanked, but journalists, people who work in communications. And I would like to thank them because I've seen that they're showing a great deal of interest in our dialogue. They're very interested, and we should be grateful for that, because we need criticism, and we also need to ensure properly informed public opinion. To ensure that people can form their own views, but with knowledge, based on knowledge. And I think that's something that we should thank the world of information and communications for. We have a common destiny, and that destiny, that future, is the European Union. So that's why we'll continue to talk, continue with dialogue. We'll have a summit of speakers from the Western Balkan countries at the beginning of next year. We're very much looking forward to that, and I'm sure it's something that the Western Balkan countries can invest in as well, because we need to build trust. I think trust is the best basis for continuing down our path. Now, unfortunately, I'm not able to stay with you for a very long time this afternoon. But I'm very happy to see this initiative and renewed dialogue between the European Parliament and countries of the Western Balkans. I'd like to come and visit all of your countries. and hopefully you'll have the patience to listen to me, because I'd like to come and visit all of your countries in the future. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Mr. President. Your participation today as in your capacity of President of the European Parliament, dear David, shows the importance that the institution itself is attaching to the Western Balkans. Hearing your words, your inspired and inspiring words, I would say, we were listening to a vision of a strong Europe that can be useful for its values in a global world, that were your words before. But I would say not just useful, I will add essential in a world that is looking not just for rules, but also is looking for the defense of multilateralism and dialogue, for the defense of a real future for our planet from an environmental point of view, from the defense of our fundamental rights, for a vision that Europe also can inspire in our partners in a world that unfortunately is, as I was saying before, putting in question the model and the paradigm of multilateralism and trying to challenge that with the paradigm of unilateralism and relationship based on strength, and not on dialogue and not on creating a common ground. You are one of the strongest supporters in the region, but we have a lot of friends, other colleagues and MEPs today that are very engaged in this regard. But let me thank all of you for your participation today. Before, first of all, I would like to welcome our colleagues from the parliaments of Albania, Bosnia, Montenegro, Northern Macedonia and Serbia. Unfortunately, the members of the Kosovo Parliament cannot be present today because, as you know, the electoral process is still ongoing in Kosovo and members of the Parliament have not yet been sworn in. I take note with a lot of satisfaction of the presence of Commissioners Varelis today in our round table, and if this is your first official meeting, I think that is more than a political sign. It must be a sign for the total commitment we have to pay in this regard for that dimension of the neighbourhood, because you have been elected just last Wednesday. My warmest congratulations for that. And, of course, we believe in a strong cooperation with the Parliament that politically is going to push, and the Commission that must strengthen the ties and this alliance to give the message of hope to build up this bridge together with our partners in the Western Balkans. I welcome also the participation of other prominent colleagues today, starting from my fellow colleagues, Vice President Livia Jaroka, the Vice President Dimitri Papadimoulis, and also all the chairs of the committees, the standing rapporteurs for the Western Balkans, and the chairs of the delegation with the Balkans. AFET Chairman David McAllister is in mission today, and unfortunately he cannot attend personally, but is sending us his warmest regards. Thank you very much, and now I give the floor with a huge pleasure to Commissioner Varela. Please, Commissioner, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.